Someone is staying because you made love feel like home, and that truth is quieter and stronger than any promise ever spoken out loud. It is not the loud kind of love that announces itself with grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It is the kind that settles into the room like warm light in the evening, the kind that does not demand attention yet changes everything it touches. When love feels like home, it stops being something to chase and becomes something to return to. It becomes the place where the heart rests without fear of being misunderstood. Home is not perfection. Home is safety. Home is knowing that you do not have to rehearse your feelings before you speak, that your silence will not be misread as distance, and that your presence is enough even on the days when you feel unfinished. Someone stays when they feel allowed to be human around you. When they can arrive tired, confused, or uncertain and still be received with patience. You made love feel like home because you did not turn affection into a test. You did not make care conditional on performance, success, or constant strength. You offered a space where they could breathe. People often believe that others stay because of beauty, charm, or intensity. Those things attract, but they do not anchor. What anchors a person is consistency. It is the steady tone of your voice when things go wrong. It is the way you listen without planning your reply. It is the calm you bring into chaos simply by being present. Love feels like home when it is predictable in the best way, when kindness does not disappear during disagreement, and when respect remains intact even in moments of hurt. Someone is staying because with you, love did not feel like a battlefield. It did not feel like something they had to earn every single day. You did not keep score of mistakes or remind them of who they used to be at their worst. You saw them as they are becoming and treated them with the dignity of that future. You understood that growth is not linear and that setbacks are not failures but pauses. In your presence, love felt less like pressure and more like permission. There is a rare strength in making love feel like home because it requires emotional courage. It requires you to be steady without becoming rigid, open without losing yourself, and compassionate without self-betrayal. You did not confuse intensity with intimacy. You understood that real closeness is built slowly, through ordinary moments, shared laughter, quiet support, and mutual trust. Someone stays because they feel seen in those moments that the world never applauds. Home is where you are allowed to change your mind. It is where your past is acknowledged but not weaponized. You offered that. You allowed space for honesty without punishment. When someone told you the truth about their fears, doubts, or insecurities, you did not withdraw your care. You did not make them regret their vulnerability. Instead, you treated their truth gently, and in doing so, you taught them that love does not vanish when reality appears. Someone is staying because you made love feel safe during conflict. You did not turn disagreement into abandonment. You did not threaten distance to gain control. You stayed emotionally present even when things were uncomfortable. That is what home does. It does not disappear when the weather changes. It reinforces its walls. It reminds you that storms can be survived together. Love felt like home because even in tension, there was reassurance. You made love feel like home by honoring boundaries. You understood that closeness does not mean possession. You respected their individuality, their dreams, their pace. You did not rush them into becoming someone they were not ready to be. You allowed love to unfold instead of forcing it to prove itself. In that freedom, attachment grew naturally, without fear of being trapped or consumed. Someone is staying because with you, love felt calm without being dull. There was depth without chaos, warmth without suffocation. You showed that passion does not need to be destructive to be real. You showed that excitement can coexist with peace. For many people, this is unfamiliar territory. They are used to love that hurts, love that confuses, love that keeps them guessing. You offered something different. You offered stability, and that felt revolutionary. When love feels like home, it becomes a refuge from the noise of the world. It becomes the place where one can return after being misunderstood elsewhere. You became that place by being emotionally available. You did not dismiss feelings as weakness. You did not shame tears, fears, or needs. You treated emotions as valid experiences rather than inconveniences. That acceptance creates loyalty deeper than obligation. Someone is staying because you showed up not only in moments of joy but also in moments of quiet struggle. You did not need a spotlight to be supportive. You were present in the background, steady and attentive. You understood that love is not always about fixing things but about witnessing them. Sometimes, the greatest gift is simply staying when there is nothing impressive happening. You made love feel like home because you allowed mutual care. You did not insist on being the strong one all the time, nor did you force them into that role. You allowed interdependence, the healthy kind where both people give and receive. You did not equate needing someone with weakness. You understood that connection thrives when both people feel allowed to lean. Home is where memories are made quietly. It is shared routines, familiar jokes, comfortable silences, and the feeling of being known. You cultivated that by paying attention. You remembered small details. You noticed changes in mood. You responded with empathy rather than impatience. These small acts accumulate into trust, and trust is what keeps someone rooted. Someone is staying because with you, love felt honest. You did not pretend to be perfect. You did not sell an illusion. You were real about your flaws and open about your intentions. That transparency removed the fear of hidden agendas. Love felt straightforward, even when it was complex. That clarity is rare and deeply grounding. You made love feel like home by choosing kindness when it would have been easier to choose distance. You chose understanding when misunderstanding would have protected your ego. You chose to communicate rather than disappear. These choices, repeated over time, send a powerful message: I am here, and I am not leaving at the first sign of difficulty. Someone is staying because you offered emotional warmth without control. You did not use affection as leverage. You did not withdraw love to make a point. You kept your care consistent. Consistency builds security, and security allows love to deepen without fear. In your presence, love stopped feeling like something fragile that could shatter at any moment. Home is also where forgiveness lives. Not blind forgiveness that ignores harm, but mature forgiveness that seeks repair. You were willing to talk things through. You were willing to take responsibility when you were wrong. You did not let pride block connection. That humility makes love sustainable. It shows that the relationship matters more than winning. You made love feel like home by encouraging growth instead of competition. You celebrated their progress without comparing it to your own. You wanted them to thrive, not to shrink for your comfort. Love felt expansive with you. It felt like a place where dreams were supported rather than threatened. Someone is staying because you listened with your whole presence. You did not multitask their emotions. You did not minimize their experiences. You offered attention, which is one of the purest forms of love. Being truly heard creates a sense of belonging that cannot be replicated by words alone. Home is where you are allowed to rest. With you, love did not feel exhausting. It did not require constant vigilance. It allowed moments of stillness. It allowed ordinary days to be enough. In a world that constantly demands more, this kind of love feels like relief. You made love feel like home because you trusted them. You did not let past wounds dictate present behavior. You did not punish them for someone else's mistakes. That trust invited honesty and responsibility. It showed belief in their character rather than suspicion. Someone is staying because you showed that love can be gentle and strong at the same time. You did not confuse dominance with care. You did not confuse jealousy with passion. You understood that real love protects rather than controls. That understanding creates emotional safety, which is the foundation of lasting connection. Home is built over time, brick by brick, moment by moment. You built it through patience. Through choosing to stay curious instead of judgmental. Through allowing silence without assuming rejection. Through offering reassurance without being asked. These are the invisible acts that create permanence. You made love feel like home because you allowed joy to be simple. You did not overcomplicate happiness. You found meaning in shared laughter, in small victories, in everyday presence. Love felt accessible, not overwhelming. Someone is staying because with you, they do not feel like they are walking on emotional eggshells. They can speak freely. They can be themselves. They can grow at their own pace. That freedom is magnetic. In the end, love feels like home when it tells a person, again and again, you belong here. Not because you are perfect, not because you perform well, but because you are you. You offered that message through your actions, your patience, and your care. That is why someone is staying. Not out of obligation or fear, but out of choice. Because with you, love finally stopped feeling like a place they had to survive and started feeling like a place they could live. And still, there is more to why someone stays when love feels like home. It is because home does not compete with the outside world, it complements it. With you, love did not demand isolation. It did not ask them to abandon who they were or where they came from. Instead, it became the place they wanted to return to after exploring the world, knowing they would be welcomed without interrogation. That quiet assurance creates devotion without confinement. You made love feel like home by being emotionally reliable. When words were spoken, they meant something. When promises were made, they were honored in action. You did not overpromise to impress. You underlined your care through follow-through. This reliability turned trust into something solid, not theoretical. Someone stays when they know they can depend on you, not just during moments of romance, but during moments of real life. Home is where time does not feel wasted. With you, even ordinary hours held meaning. Sitting together without an agenda, sharing space without pressure, doing nothing and feeling complete. That kind of presence tells someone they do not need to constantly prove their value. Love stopped being a performance and became an experience. Someone is staying because you allowed love to be soft. You did not mock sensitivity or dismiss tenderness as weakness. You understood that gentleness requires strength, that it takes courage to care deeply without armor. In your presence, they did not have to harden themselves to survive love. They could remain open, and that openness became a bond. You made love feel like home by choosing understanding over assumption. When something felt off, you asked instead of accusing. You sought clarity instead of creating stories. This reduced fear. It taught them that misunderstandings would be met with conversation, not conflict. That assurance made honesty easier and silence less threatening. Someone stays when they feel emotionally met. You met them where they were, not where you wished they would be. You did not rush healing. You did not pressure progress. You allowed wounds to close at their own pace. Love felt patient with you, and patience is one of the rarest forms of care. Home is also where laughter lives freely. With you, joy did not feel forced. Humor did not hide pain but coexisted with it. You laughed together without forgetting depth. That balance made love feel whole. It did not deny reality, but it also did not drown in it. You made love feel like home because you did not disappear during emotional intensity. When feelings ran high, you stayed grounded. You did not retreat into coldness or defensiveness. You remained present, even when it was uncomfortable. That steadiness communicated commitment more clearly than any declaration ever could. Someone is staying because you valued emotional intimacy as much as physical or social connection. You cared about thoughts, feelings, and inner worlds. You asked questions that mattered. You remembered answers. You made them feel interesting, not just attractive. That depth creates attachment that is not easily shaken. Home is where vulnerability is not punished. You proved this again and again by responding with care instead of judgment. When they revealed parts of themselves shaped by fear or insecurity, you did not use that knowledge to gain power. You treated it as something to protect. That protection fostered trust. You made love feel like home by respecting emotional rhythms. You understood that connection ebbs and flows. You did not panic during quieter phases. You did not interpret distance as rejection. You trusted the bond enough to let it breathe. That trust made the connection resilient. Someone stays because with you, love did not feel like a constant negotiation. They did not have to bargain for affection or clarity. You were emotionally transparent. You expressed care without manipulation. This removed anxiety and replaced it with confidence in the relationship. Home is also where mistakes are addressed, not ignored. You did not avoid difficult conversations. You approached them with the intention to repair rather than to win. This showed maturity. It showed that love mattered more than comfort. That willingness to work through issues made the relationship feel sustainable. You made love feel like home by honoring emotional safety as a priority. You did not raise your voice to dominate. You did not use silence as punishment. You communicated boundaries clearly and respected theirs. This mutual respect created a sense of equality that deepened connection. Someone is staying because you allowed them to feel chosen every day, not just during moments of passion. Through small gestures, thoughtful words, and consistent presence, you reminded them that they mattered. Love felt intentional, not accidental. Home is where identity is supported. With you, they did not feel the need to shrink or perform. They could explore who they were becoming without fear of losing your affection. You celebrated their evolution instead of resisting it. That encouragement made love feel expansive. You made love feel like home by being emotionally generous. You gave reassurance without being asked. You offered empathy without conditions. You did not ration care. This generosity did not come from insecurity but from abundance. It made love feel nourishing rather than transactional. Someone stays when they feel emotionally understood. You did not just hear words, you listened for meaning. You noticed patterns. You responded thoughtfully. This depth of attention created a sense of being known, and being known is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy. Home is also where presence matters more than perfection. You showed up imperfectly but sincerely. You did not pretend to have all the answers. You admitted when you were unsure. This honesty made love feel real rather than idealized. You made love feel like home by staying emotionally available even when life was demanding. You did not let stress turn into neglect. You communicated when energy was low. You maintained connection without obligation. This balance kept love steady during external pressures. Someone is staying because you showed that love can be peaceful without losing depth. You demonstrated that calm is not boredom, that stability is not stagnation. For someone used to emotional turbulence, this kind of love feels healing. Home is where trust is built through repetition. Each time you responded with care, each time you followed through, each time you chose empathy, you reinforced the foundation. Over time, this consistency turned attachment into commitment. You made love feel like home because you did not confuse control with care. You trusted autonomy. You respected independence. You believe that love grows stronger when both people feel whole. This belief shaped a relationship based on choice. Not fear. Someone stays because with you, love felt balanced. It was not one-sided or draining. There was mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual investment. That balance made love feel fair and sustainable. In the quiet truth of it all, someone is staying because you offered them a place where they could rest emotionally. A place where they did not have to guard their heart. A place where love felt familiar, steady, and safe. You became that place not by trying to be everything, but by being consistent, kind, and present, and when love feels like home, leaving feels unnecessary. Because home is not just where someone lives. It is where they feel understood, accepted, and at peace. You created that feeling. That is why someone stays. And this is the part people rarely talk about. When you make love feel like home, staying is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is chosen in small, almost invisible ways every day. It is choosing you in the middle of routine, not just in moments of intensity. It is deciding, again and again, that peace matters more than chaos, that depth matters more than excitement, and that safety matters more than ego. Someone is staying because with you, love does not feel like an escape from themselves. It feels like a return to who they truly are. Around you, they remember parts of themselves they had forgotten. Their softness. Their hope. Their capacity to trust. You did not rescue them, you reminded them. That is a powerful form of love. Home is where the nervous system relaxes. With you, they do not feel constantly on edge, waiting for the next emotional shift. They do not brace themselves for withdrawal or conflict. Their body understands what their heart already knows: this is safe. That kind of safety is not created through words, but through repeated emotional experiences that prove care is stable. You made love feel like home by being emotionally regulated. You did not let your unresolved wounds lead the relationship. You took responsibility for your reactions. You paused instead of exploding. You reflected instead of deflecting. This self-awareness protected the connection and made love feel grounded rather than volatile. Someone stays when love feels like a partnership, not a power struggle. With you, decisions were discussed, not dictated. Needs were acknowledged, not dismissed. There was space for both voices. That equality made love feel respectful and real. Home is also where acceptance replaces fear. You did not threaten to leave to gain compliance. You did not use insecurity as a tool. You allowed love to exist without constant proof. That absence of fear created emotional stability, and emotional stability creates attachment that lasts. You made love feel like home by allowing closeness without losing individuality. Togetherness did not erase personal identity. Love felt additive, not consuming. This balance made the relationship sustainable, not suffocating. Someone is staying because with you, love does not feel like something that could collapse at any moment. Even when things are imperfect, there is a sense of continuity. A belief that problems will be addressed, not avoided. That belief reduces anxiety and builds confidence in the future. Home is where silence is comfortable. With you, silence is not filled with tension or doubt. It is shared presence. It is understanding without words. That comfort reveals deep connection. You made love feel like home by responding instead of reacting. You slowed things down when emotions rose. You created space for clarity. That calm response became an anchor during uncertainty. Someone stays when love feels emotionally intelligent. When feelings are acknowledged, patterns are noticed, and growth is encouraged. With you, love felt conscious. It felt intentional. Home is where one feels emotionally held. Not smothered, not controlled, but supported. You offered that support without making it transactional. You gave because you cared, not because you expected something in return. You made love feel like home by choosing presence over perfection. You were there, even when you were unsure. Even when answers were incomplete. That presence mattered more than flawless behavior. Someone is staying because with you, love feels durable. It can handle stress, change, and time. It does not depend on constant reassurance to survive. It rests on mutual trust and shared values. Home is where emotional honesty lives. With you, truth is welcomed. Even uncomfortable truths. That honesty strengthens the bond instead of weakening it. You made love feel like home because you treated the relationship as something living, something to be cared for, not something to be won. You nurtured it with patience, curiosity, and respect, and perhaps the deepest reason someone is staying is this: with you, love does not ask them to be someone else. It does not demand that they abandon their nature or silence their needs. It says, stay as you are, and grow as you can. When love feels like home, leaving feels unnatural. Not because of fear, guilt, or dependency, but because peace has a way of rooting itself deeply. You created that peace. You became a place of emotional rest in a restless world. This is not a love built on intensity that burns fast and fades. It is built on steadiness, understanding, and care. It is the kind of love that does not need to be constantly proven because it is consistently felt. Someone is staying because you made love feel like home. And when someone finds home in another person, they do not look for somewhere else to belong.